All right, so this is the Head Kaliber 130 MV, and this, as you can very clearly see, just like Kevin Gates said, there are two BOAs here. And one is for your upper and one is for your lower. And I gotta say, this was not a technology I was sold on for a while, but it's starting to grow on me. I just think that the closure method works really well. For the lower, as we've talked about ad nauseum at this point, this makes it a lot easier to wrap the foot like a burrito instead of pressing like a tortilla. It just makes it better for people that have wide feet, weird lower sections of their feet. If you're just looking for more comfort, the lower BOA does a lot for you. As I've mentioned in previous reviews, the top BOA gives you a little bit more of that springing feeling, which is really nice if you like the feeling of a booster strap, right? You want that kind of spring into the flex point so that everything feels like it's a little smoother and a little more consistent. This honestly is helping do away with a lot of the need for the booster strap. That being said, Head does a really good job of making almost like an elastic feeling booster strap. So instead of feeling super rigid every time you flex into the boot, it feels very comfortable and very consistent. Reduces shin bang as well, which is another nice added bonus to a lot of these upper BOA systems. Really, really nice product. I have never been a fan of Head boots, and I think this is the first year that they've got me into something that is actually really impressive. The Kaliber series overall is 100 millimeter last, so it's for that mid-width foot. 12-degree forward lean, which is very similar to plenty of the other boots on the market, but it's a performance all-mountain boot. This is something that you're going to spend your days in, banging around through the trees, skiing groomers, or skiing whatever line is available to you. As I mentioned in the intro to this section, boots are the most personal part of your gear. It's the most important thing. If you're gonna have a bad boot, you're gonna have a bad time. Like, it's a really simple equation that I think everybody has understood at one point in their ski career. So make sure that you're picking the right boot for your foot. Always try them on before you go and buy a boot, because what fits me may not fit you. All that being said, Head does a lot of really great things in terms of customization that is available to you, the end consumer. One of those things is their form fit technology, which allows you to do some shell molding if you need to. If you need to do punches in certain spots, this is a shell that will really retain whatever mold your boot fitter decides is right for your foot. They also do liquid fit, which is for their liner. That is all about making the liner feel like it is basically just part of your leg. And that is the technology that not a lot of other people are using. There's pros and there's cons to plenty of these things, but I think for this type of boot, for somebody that's looking for a precision all-mountain fit, really, really great choice here. Now, I will also mention that as we get wider, or as we get longer with this particular boot, the last goes up significantly. Most companies don't even acknowledge this, even though it's true across the board for many of the brands that are out there, but Head has it labeled there right for you. So keep in mind, if you're in a 25.5, this 100 millimeter last boot is actually more like a 98 millimeter last boot. In a 26.5, it is a 100. In a 27.5, it is a 102, and so on and so forth. It's important to know because not everybody's foot's the same, and usually people with bigger feet have wider feet in proportion to the smaller size. So it is important to know that you are getting into a 102 and not a 100 if you are in a 27.5, which is what I ski. Which really, by the way, ski industry, if you're paying attention right now, 27.5 should be the men's standard sample size and not 26.5, and for women it probably should be a 23.5. But what do I know? I've only been doing this for my entire life. Anyway, when we get to the liner, we see a lot of similar features that we saw in other boots that we've talked about previously. In the tongue adjustability, this was not a thing that 5 years ago really existed in any boots other than race boots. Now we're starting to see it across the board. I think that this liner is a little heavy, and I do think that it's a little boxy, but the liquid fit ready system does allow for a really nice consistent fit that you might find in a liner like a zip fit liner. So it allows you to get some of that performance fit attribute that you would find in a $600 liner coming in your $800 boot. It's one, I think, just a really nice looking liner. Obviously this stuff does not have to stay in there. If you choose not to do the liquid fit system, you can just rip these babies out and you have a much cleaner looking system. Obviously removable spoiler as well, depending on if you want a little more forward lean or if you need a little room taken up in your calf. That part's cool too. As seen in some other liners, anatomically correct heel pocket. Again, very important aspect of the boot. We're gonna talk about this all day long because if they don't do that, then they're doing something wrong. Head has paid attention and they've done it in this boot. Now, even though it is not cork like the Nordica one, this is still a stiffer material, so it will hold your heel pocket in for a little bit longer than a traditional boot liner. This is really where people see their boots blowing out quicker than anything else, is in this area, and then it's in your toe box area. Head does also have a slightly bigger neoprene toe pocket than a lot of other companies. And what that does for you is it allows for a little bit more comfort, a little bit more cushion, and again, a little bit more room for your toe to move around as you go. The last thing I'm gonna mention here is that this tongue is actually very aggressive. It is much stiffer than many of the other tongues that come in 130 boots across the board. And I think that that adds just that little bit extra for somebody looking for a high performance boot. They say that this boot is a 130 to 140. As we know, flex is just kind of a made up number that companies throw at the wall in reference to other models in their boot line. So it is not like you can go and brag to everybody that you're in a 140 just because it says 140. You will know if you're in a 140 boot. I would say that this boot is a good choice for the recreational, aggressive all-mountain skier. It is not a race boot by any means, but it will give you some of that race boot feel and performance for the initial time that you're in the boot. Now, Head does focus a lot on comfort and fit out of the box, which has its drawbacks. It feels really good initially, but long term, these liners tend to wear out a little bit more. But again, going back to that liquid fit system will allow you to kind of pump some more of that fluid inside the liner and refit that boot over time, hopefully giving you a little bit more longevity out of an otherwise very comfortable and plushy liner. The last thing that I'm gonna mention on this boot is there is a bunch of adjustability, whether it comes to the adjustment of your calf, your stance, even some flex points you can add. This is why I think flex is made up, by the way. Like, this is one of those reasons that I can point to. You just put another nut in here and it's 10 points stiffer, and realistically, it's a little stiffer, but they're just rounding up to make you feel a little bit better and make the numbers easier for everybody to understand. It will feel a little bit stiffer, obviously, because there is another connection point. It's like if you were to go and put one screw in a wall mount on your wall versus putting 2 screws in there. It is very simple math, and it makes it so that the boot feels a little bit more rigid, but again, not super substantial. The last thing here before we finish up is that this boot is one of the highest insteps of any performance medium volume boot in the category. It is one of the easier dual BOA boots to get on, and that is a thing that you will hear us talk about later. Some of these double BOA boots are brutal to put on your foot. This one, I think, is the easiest one. I have a gross, high, disgusting instep, and I can still get my foot into this thing really comfortably. So take that with a grain of salt. If you have a really low instep, maybe it's not the right fit for you. Take all these things into account when you're deciding if you want to get into a Head Kaliber 130 this season, but I think overall they did a really good job offering a performance option for the double BOA consumer that is definitely running wild right now.
So these guys are the Head Kaliber 105 women's boot. It is the double BOA model. So we have that BOA right up at the cuff of the boot and then into the forefoot of the boot. What they've done with the BOA system is it's just an easy little clip that hooks onto that top buckle. Just to disengage, we pull it loose. When we kind of look at materials and shell, we're just using the standard kind of PU plastic. We're at about a 100 flex in terms of width. So this is our mid-volume option that they offer. Obviously they have that lower and the higher depending on which best suits you. There is about a 12-degree lean on these boots, so not super aggressive. The forward lean on this guy is about a 12-degree angle, so not super aggressive, but still in a comfortable position where we're not putting too much strain and forward lean if you're someone who is just not interested in that type of positioning and skiing type. We look at the soles of the boots, standard grip walk, so grip walk compatible obviously, and then you do have the option to swap out to those standard ones if you have a non-grip walk compliant binding. It is the form fit kind of technology, so that again kind of speaks for their BOA. They're able to, with that cabling system, you're able to really get a tailored type of fit and wrap to the foot. And then again, they bring that up into the top of the cuff of the boot. When we look at the power strap, we have a bit of a kind of backbone to it, so just adds a little bit more stiffness and pressure on the tongue of the boot up in the shin area. The liner has a bit of a velour kind of inside tongue, but when we look into the full body of the liner, we have what they call is their liquid fit ready system. So with this, you have the ability to make some of those tweaks and insert some of that liquid fit foam so that we can bring out some of those pockets a little bit and fill in those gaps if need be. If you're not going to be utilizing the boot for that, there's no issue with that. You can just choose to leave these in or take them out. It's not going to cause any harm to the boot. We have a spoiler on the back of the calf, so if you're needing to fill in that space a little bit more, or you're looking to just have a little bit more of a forward lean without making any cuff adjustments, you can just easily go and put that on or take it off. They do kind of a neoprene toe padding, so with that we can really kind of adjust and mold the toe over time. You're not being constricted to that thicker kind of material that is used in the ankle region. You also have that full kind of strap on the forefoot, so in terms of things staying hugged in, you feel like you're very locked into the boot, which is nice because sometimes we have a bit of that smaller strap. So really just focusing on kind of having that foot locked in, as when that is the case, we're really able to navigate and steer where we want the skis to go. So we like to try and think of it as the boot obviously being that connecting point between yourself and the skis. So really important that not only those shell aspects are ticking off our boxes, but making sure that with the liner, we're at one that also is suitable for our foot shape, ankles, and so on. When we look at the tongue of the boot, they use kind of a dual density system. It is a bit of a thicker tongue that is adding like extra plastics on that front area. So just again, stiffening things up a little bit. It's definitely a lot beefier and thicker compared to some other tongues that we see on the market, but it's nice that they're kind of integrating this into this line, as we do think of this as kind of that high performance style of boot. Someone who is going to be carving and really just laying it down on their skis, you want a boot that is durable and stiff enough to fit that rider. If you're looking to try something different that kind of brings in different areas of technology, I would definitely say getting your hands on these guys and trying them out would be worth it for sure.